about viruses. A little bit of a controversial subject. Are they alive or are they not alive? Scientists of the 1800s believed that viruses were very similar to bacteria, which makes sense because much like bacteria causing disease, viruses also can cause many different types of diseases. So a little bit of a summary of how bacteria and viruses are in fact different. So bacteria is a prokaryotic cell, a very simple cell with DNA. A virus is not considered a prokaryotic cell. It's not even considered a cell at all because it has a protein shell on the outside and genes, very simple genes, but genes inside. Bacteria is free living. They don't need a host. Some are parasitic, meaning that they need a host to live inside, but most are considered free living. Viruses are intracellular, and a parasite, so they need a host and they live within the cell of another organism. Bacteria are relatively large in size. They're still really small, but compared to a virus, they're really large because a virus is about 1,000th size of a bacteria cell. In order to kill bacteria, antibiotics are used, and inside the bacteria cell, there are hundreds to thousands of genes. With the virus, not antibiotics to kill, but vaccines can prevent a viral infection from even occurring. And there are, as of recently, many antiviral treatments to help the person with their symptoms should they be infected with a virus. The structure of a virus is very unique. You can see a picture of a virus on the left center, which I will explain in just a moment. First, though, viruses are extremely small. They are smaller than ribosomes within our own body cells. We would use nanometers to measure them, nanometers being a billionth of a meter. So I've got meter sticks in class hanging on the back wall if you've ever seen them. It'd be like taking that meter stick and dividing it by 1,000,000,000. So extremely, extremely small. Now, I think I mentioned what the components were on a previous slide, but a virus is made of nucleic acid, so this would be the genetic material, and what is known as a capsid, which is going to be the protein coat on the virus. For the virus's genetic material, it can have either DNA or RNA. It can be double-stranded DNA, like in our cells. It could also be single strand of DNA. It could be a double strand of RNA or a single strand of RNA. And the genetic material is within the center if you look at the picture on the left. The capsid, which again is that protein shell, is made of capsomeres. A capsomere is just a protein subunit. And all the little green dots on the left are going to be proteins, but it's going to be known as the capsomeres. Oftentimes they repeat and they're the same protein over and over and over and over again, making up the entire thing known as a capsid. Not all viruses, but some have a viral envelope on the outside of the capsid, and it's shown in a purpley color on the left, or a pinkish purple color on the left. A viral envelope is a little bit tricky and pretty smart for the virus, even though it doesn't think to be smart, but it pretty much is. A viral envelope is made from the host membrane. So it's made of proteins from the phospholipid bilayer. It's made of the lipids themselves, glycoproteins. So the virus can use this to survive essentially within its host. This slide shows you the different shapes that viruses have, which again usually benefits the survival of the virus itself in order to allow it to reproduce and reproduce and reproduce. On the left is a rod-shaped virus. So this one, the example here is the tobacco mosaic virus, which causes mosaic disease in tobacco plants, which essentially kills the plant itself by harming the leaves. And if you look at the structure, you can see that it has a capsid made of protein units known as capsomeres. One thing I forgot to mention on the previous slide is whether the virus is RNA or DNA, usually it's just one type and one strand. So in this case, the RNA molecule making up the tobacco mosaic virus, it's going to be one strand of RNA. Because again, these are very small, and I don't want to say organisms, but these are very small viruses, period. Looking at B, you have an adenovirus, which causes respiratory infections, so having breathing issues in animals. And the shape of this one is a polyhedral, so it has many different faces. This one is made of DNA. Again, it would be like one molecule of DNA. And it also has a capsomere, so it has that protein coat on it as well. If you look at C, this is something we're all very common or familiar with because it's so common. The flu virus, influenza, whether it's A or B, and this virus is made of RNA, and you can see that not good for us, but it also has that envelope on the outside, the viral envelope, which can help it in replicating and in infecting us essentially. The most unique and scary looking, I think, is what is known as a bacteriophage. And this one is the T4 bacteriophage. Now, what does the T4, T2, T1 represent? They, in order of discovery, so T1 was discovered first, that virus, T2 second, and so on. And the structure here, you can see it has a head, and within that head, and it's coated with protein, within it is the DNA, and then it also has a protein tail and protein fibers coming off of it, which almost essentially look like a body and legs that help it to infect its host.